Hey everyone. Well, what did you make of that? It's always good to win, right? Especially when you're starting out in a competition and you are playing a decent side. Let's be fair. Villarreal are a decent team. They've been in the semi-finals a couple of times and stuff, and of course they've won the Europa League and all that. So I guess you've got to be grateful for the win. Fair play. We take the points. We move on to the next game. And it's important to get off to a good start. It's also important to get a win in your home games, because that's where you're going to get, hopefully, the biggest benefit. It's not easy to win the away games, even if the teams are supposedly lower level, but it's still difficult to do. So yeah, I'm grateful for all of that. But being a negative Nelly that I am, I have to say that was a pretty poor game. Bit disappointing. I got to be honest, I almost felt like we were just defending the win, the one goal, and it just felt like the whole game we were playing very, very cautiously, and not really trying to add to that and put the game to bed. It felt like we were quite happy to sit on that one goal advantage and hope that we could defend it, well enough that not to let Villarreal get anything out of the game. And in the first half, I thought we did a good job of that. I didn't think it was too bad. I thought, we worked quite hard. We did create some chances and stuff. But that second half performance felt like a real worry. And even Thomas Frank has said that he felt that we were giving the ball away too easily, and kind of sat a bit too deep and so on. And we were playing this game of, we'll give you the ball and then we'll chase you back sort of thing. And I think that's fair enough. And I do like, I've got to be honest with you, and I know I'm going off at a tangent really, but I do like his honest appraisal of how things are going. And he calls out things without calling out the actual player in a negative way. So yeah, I did like that. But anyway, listen, let's start from the beginning. So of course we get the howler of a disaster from the goalkeeper. I don't know how he managed to do that. It was almost like the spin of the ball. He tried to gather it in, but as he's gathered it in, he's spun it more, and it just flowed into the goal. Great, some great work up that right hand side. Bergvall put a great cross in, but of course wrong side of Richarlison, so he's never going to get there. Keeper should have made an easy save of that, an absolute howler. And of course that was it really. The game was won. But like I was just saying, I felt like we were sitting on it and kind of going, yeah, okay, we're trying to encourage you out to chase the game, which makes sense, right? You haven't got to chase the game. You want them to chase the game, to create that space so that you can kind of exploit it. But we just didn't seem to have that cut and thrust to be able to do it. Richarlison I felt was quite poor today. He didn't really get into the game at all. A couple of defensive things he did well. A little bit of running around, a little bit of pressing, but actually not hitting the heights that he did against Burnley or against Man City. It's been quite poor from that point of view. Even Thomas Frank said that Spence and Xavi on the left-hand side didn't really work as well as he would have liked. That relationship's really young. That they're 2 games that they've played together, so they've got to develop that relationship and that understanding of each other's game and so on. So he's quite honest in his appraisal of things, and I think that's important. He was asked by Carrick, I think, in the discussion afterwards whether he felt that tiredness kind of played into it, because the second half we were very, very sloppy. Lots of sloppy balls being passed around, and it felt very much like we were under the cosh. I mean, defensively, we looked really solid. Like, defensively, Van der Ven and Romero did a great job. And even the supporting, defending was really good. Like, I don't really think Vicario had to make an actual save. Villarreal had their opportunities, but they weren't particularly good at taking their opportunities in the same way we wasn't. So had that been a better side with a bit more, being a little bit more clinical, it could have been a totally different scenario. So, I have to say, we were defensively quite solid most of the game, but we just invited too much pressure, and we've seen how Tottenham collapse so often in that thing. And so, as a Tottenham fan, you just don't want to see it. But they seemed fairly confident in their defensive capabilities, and if you can keep both of them fit, then I'm quite comfortable with their defensive abilities. But say we saw Van der Ven get himself a yellow card. I think he got caught out and had to chase back, and even with his pace he still had to take a player down, luckily just outside the box, although it did look like it could have gone to a penalty. Luckily VAR saved our asses from that point of view, and so we didn't get that, and likely end up with a draw. But again, I thought overall the ref, whilst I thought he was poor in a lot of the game, there was a couple of opportunities in there that we were really lucky. Xavi, I thought, could have got sent off. Like he second yellow, I thought he could have got sent off for that. So we got away with one there. So I see there was a few things going on in that game that went our way. So I was, overall, I'll let the ref off. I won't complain too much about him, because I just thought, I thought he was quite poor in some of his decisions, certainly in the first half. I wasn't impressed with him. I thought he got quite a lot of stuff wrong, but ultimately it doesn't matter, because we won the game and we move on. So it's a happy outcome in the end. But certainly going to Brighton, it's going to be a different kettle of fish. But again, there will be changes, and I thought he did bring on some changes today, in terms of when he brought Polina in. What a difference he made, in front of that back four. He's a bit of an unsung hero. He just does the right thing at the right time, breaks it up, keeps it simple, and moves it on. So I thought he had a good game. Bergvall as well, I thought played really well. I thought he had a decent game. Sarr, I thought, was unlucky to come off, although he did look knackered. I mean, he's played every game pretty much. So he did look a bit knackered, but I thought he was one of our brighter players. Johnson really didn't do anything. Didn't really see anything from him. And Kolo Muani, again, didn't see an awful lot from him, but bit part player, only getting sort of 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. Got himself a yellow card 30 seconds in, which I again, going back to the referee, I thought was a bit of a strange one. I didn't look to me like he was trying to do anything, but maybe I missed it. Maybe it's just how I saw it. But yeah, I mean, overall happy with the result, but the performance was disappointing. I felt the goal kind of spoilt it coming so early, really, because we didn't really need to push, and I just felt that we sat back on it too much when we didn't really need to. We really needed to kind of put it to bed. It would have made it a bit more of a comfortable watch. I have to say as well, I've got to be honest, I thought the atmosphere was really poor today. Really quiet for most of the game and everything. And it's difficult, right? If the game's flat, how do you get the fans up for a game if the game's not very good? So yeah, a bit disappointed for that as well, and that probably has an impact because that's not driving the players either. There were some good points during the game. Obviously, there was a lot of stick for a certain ex-Arsenal player when he came on. But yeah, apart from that, it was pretty. It's not the best European night under the lights that you'll see at White Hart Lane for sure. But it is what it is. It pays your money. It takes your chances. Wasn't a sellout, and again, that's probably because Tottenham haven't sold it at the right price to get the people through the door. So a bit stupid, really. Like for me, if you charge 30 quid, you'll fill it out. You're charging 60 quid and you end up with 50,000. Now, 50,000 is 50,000, but then you got another 15,000 you could have had in there. Do you know what I mean? So, at 30 quid a go. But what it is. Yeah. So anyway, a win's a win. We take it all day long. We march on to the next game. Up next is Brighton. So that'll be a difficult game. Especially after a Tuesday night match. So they'll probably rest tomorrow, and then it's about preparation for that game. But hopefully we can start maybe seeing Xavi a bit more centrally. Might be interesting to see how that goes on. Kolo Muani getting some meaningful minutes, because Richarlison, if he's not going to keep up his early dawn, then we really are in trouble, because there's still no news on Solanke as far as I'm aware. So yeah, we'll see. We'll keep the faith. Happy days. Champions League. That's 3 points in the bag. I think, what did they say? You need about 8 to get into the next round in the playoffs. 11 or something gets you through totally. So we've got 3 points in the bag. That's the important thing. Next one up is going to be Bodo Glimt away in the Arctic Circle. So we wait and see how that goes on. But as for now, we just get back to the bread and butter of the Premier League and see how we get on against Brighton at the weekend. So anyway, keep the faith. Thanks for watching. And as always, up the Spurs.